All right, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. Today, we're going to be going through our webinar on the topic of Microsoft Remote Access Solutions. In the realm of remote access, there are a number of options available, especially those within the Microsoft space, and they really range depending on a number of different factors. And our hope is that from today's webinar, you'll have a greater understanding of these various solutions that are available and how you can consider implementing whichever one of them makes sense within your organization. So who are we? We are AIS. We have been in the Microsoft space working with customers for over 40 years, focused on Azure as well as the entire Microsoft stack, really focused on providing great customer support and being a valued partner, not only from the perspective of Microsoft, but also from our customers as well. So the presenters for today's webinar are going to be myself, I'm Michael, as well as Chow and Alex, two of my colleagues, and we're excited to bring you today's content. So for today's content, we're going to be covering the solutions available within Microsoft Entra Global Secure Access, formerly known as Azure AD. And there's two primary options available there, being the intranet access as well as private access. Then we're going to be touching on the Azure Virtual Desktop solution, and following that up with Microsoft 365 Cloud PC, and then closing it out with Microsoft DevBox. So there's a lot of options to consider when looking at a remote solution for your organization. A number of these factors may include cost, complexity, and at the end of the day, what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and how do you want to pursue solving that particular problem? So there's quite a few interesting options available within the Microsoft stack that we're going to be touching on, and hopefully we'll give you some things to think about and some items to spend time digging into a bit more on your own. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off here, and I'm going to turn it over to Chow to talk about Microsoft Entra Global Secure Access. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Michael. Greetings, everyone. So what is Global Secure Access? It is a set of remote access tools allowing remote workers to securely access the internet, M365, as well as internal corporate resources securely through tunnels. And as you can see here, basically any remote workers and endpoints would connect through the Global Secure Access tunnels, whether that be for private access or the secure web gateway for internet access to your resources that you see up here. So there are two solutions rolled up into Global Secure Access, as Michael mentioned previously. They are Entra Internet Access and Entra Private Access. They do work well implemented with other security measures as well, such as CASB, and so that will give you a layered security approach. It's built on zero trust network access principles. What that means is it uses least privilege, it verifies explicitly, and assumes breach. Ultimately, one of the key points is that it always verifies and it never trusts that security implementations are in place. And ultimately, the purpose of Global Secure Access is to allow for seamless access for the users while they do it securely. Here are some of the prerequisites and limitations of Entra Global Secure Access. It requires a Entra P1 or equivalent license. The user has to have their device Microsoft Entra joined. And you also do need local administrative credentials to install the client. Some limitations that it does not support multi-session AVD or devices, so any RDP sessions that allow multiple users to be logged on at the same time. And currently, internet access controls is only available for Windows and Android devices. The client is, however, available for Windows, Android, iOS, and macOS. To administer global secure access, you can do that through the Entra Admin Center. And anything global secure access will need the global secure access administrator role. If you're going to be using conditional access policies to manage any internet access controls or whether or not you're going to require the users to use MFA, you will need to have a conditional access administrator, um, which will need the corresponding role in order to manage those things. And ultimately, you can view all the devices, users, and anything like that within the admin center of Entra. So for Entra Internet Access, it allows you to do advanced security options for M365. It also allows you to do tenant restrictions, anything internet access wise for a device that has this client will be accessing the public internet through the secure web gateway that's hosted at Microsoft. Through this, you're able to do web content filtering, all the way down to FQDNs, so you can block specific websites or allow specific websites depending on how you will implement your security measures. All that's done through conditional access policies. And ultimately, to go back to it, internet access for this solution is to allow you to have M365 application secure access and internet access. For Entra Private Access, ultimately this is to allow your remote workers to access any file shares, web apps, any remote desktop sessions that they may need to access, or any printers that you have shared corporate wide, as well as any IaaS or other service as a solution that you would need those users to access remotely that you host internally. To go through the demo, I will be pulling the screen share from Michael. And here we go. So here we have a virtual machine that is um, Entra added. We'll just go through real quick and show that we don't have access to a server that we've set up previously in order to show that this is working. This might be cached, so give me just 1 second. I'm gonna do it in a private window. So as you can see, it's now not working. And then we'll try to remote desktop just to double verify. And as you can see, I currently can't access these things. And so we're gonna go and download the client as well as show you a little bit of the Entra admin center. So logging on here, you can see that the global secure access portion of it is down here, and then under protection, conditional access is right here. Let's go ahead and go through and look. So for any internal resources, you'll need connectors, and as you can see here, we already have our connector set up and everything like that. You can download the service here and then install it, and then any services that that server has access to, you can then set up some rules under application um, in order to allow your remote workers to access it. So network access properties, and you can see here that we currently have that server already set up with the private IP, and these are the ports that we're going to be allowing. And so outside of that, for internet access control, we have web content filtering here. You'll need to create some web content filtering policies in order to get everything working. You can see here that we're blocking social networking, but allowing LinkedIn. And then you'll have to roll that into a security profile, as you can see here. We have the priority set up properly as well. The higher the priority, the lower it is on the list. And so by allowing this above here, um, it'll allow it to work. And then once you have this security profile set up, you'll need to go up to conditional access, create a policy, which we've already done here. And then assign it to a conditional access policy. So here under session, you see that we have this already configured, and then under specific users or groups, we already have a group that the demo user is going to be a part of. And then obviously target resources is going to be M365 traffic, and then internal or internet traffic. The way that you get private traffic to apply is through this traffic forwarding profile area right here. You'll just enable these in order to enable um, those specific profiles. And so here we're just going to go real quick and download the client and then install it. And just real quick, just so that you can see, we currently can get to, TikTok and Facebook, and these currently work, no problem. So now we'll go ahead and install the client. Once the client is installed, the users will only see a logon prompt. In this specific case, since we have all three profiles turned on, you will be seeing me log on 3 times with this specific account. And that's just, again, because of the 3 profiles that we have on, which is M365 profile, the private access profile, and the internet access profile. This is the icon right here. You can see that it's still currently loading. And again, you'll see me logging in 3 times. Just a real quick overview of the client. So you have this quick overview. You have your health checks where you can see how it's doing. You have your profiles right here. And then you have any traffic or host acquisitions where you can look at the DNS traffic or the actual network traffic and do a collection and then export it so that you can do further troubleshooting. So just to show, now that that's installed and we've successfully logged in, we should have access to some of these resources now. We'll open this in a private window. As you can see here, the file share is accessible. We will go back to that web page, and you'll see that it works. And then we should now also be able to conduct a remote desktop session as well, based on the applications that we previously registered. From here, we'll make sure that the internet access resources are working as intended. And so we'll try to access TikTok, for example, and you'll see that it's blocked. We'll try another one, Facebook. And then finally, we're just going to make sure LinkedIn is working. And there you have it. That concludes my portion of the demo for the remote, for the global secure access. I'm going to be handing it back over to Michael.
All right, thank you, Chow. At this point in time, we're going to go ahead and transition back over to Alex, who's going to be talking about Azure Virtual Desktop. So, Alex, go ahead and take it away, sir.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, everyone. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Azure Virtual Desktop. Azure Virtual Desktop is a desktop and app virtualization service that is provided by Azure. It allows you to have multi-session desktop host or dedicated desktop hosts for each user running Windows 10 or Windows 11. You're able to manage desktop and applications across a variety of different operating systems with a unified management experience. You can bring your own image with software that your team uses, or you can use an image from the Azure Gallery or Azure Marketplace. Azure Virtual Desktop supports Active Directory join and also Microsoft Entra join. Azure Virtual Desktop is built on the Azure backend, featuring resiliency using things like Traffic Manager, Azure Front Door, and Azure SQL databases. Azure Virtual Desktop supports a wide variety of clients on iOS, Android, macOS, Windows, and Linux, and even web browsers. The distinguishing feature between Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is that Azure Virtual Desktop, the infrastructure management is a shared responsibility. So you'll see here that there are some things that are managed by Microsoft, like the RD Broker, the RD Gateway, the load balancing, and diagnostics. But there's some things that are managed by you, whether it be the image, whether you're making a custom image or using one from the marketplace, network policies, scaling and user density sizings, whether you're doing a shared host or things like that, and also just the session host in general, the virtual machines and networking. Like I mentioned, there's a couple different types of pools. You have a personal pool, which will allow each user to have their own Azure Virtual Desktop host. You have what's called a shared host, which is a larger SKU virtual machine that allows multiple users to be on it at the same time. And then you can have a remote application host pool, which allows users to run applications and use them, but the applications themselves are running in the cloud and there's no need for a full virtual desktop environment to be shown. Like I mentioned, you have a few options with image management. You could use one of the stock Windows 10 or Windows 11 images, and Azure also provides Microsoft 365 images for if you need to use the Office suite or anything like that. Additionally, if you need to build custom images, you can use Azure Image Builder or any image from the Azure Image Gallery that you've built. As far as licensing, AVD has a few licensing things you need to worry about. You need to have a Windows CAL license, Microsoft 365, as well as remote desktop services license. Additionally, with Azure Virtual Desktop, you worry about the cost of the compute, virtual machine SKU, storage, OS, and data disk, and any egress charges for networking. So now I'm going to take the screen share from Michael and show you guys a quick demo of Azure Virtual Desktop. So I'll start off by showing what we have deployed in our demo environment. We have 3 host pools: our personal pool, our pooled host pool, and our remote app host pool. I'm logged into a VM as Bruce Wayne here, and I've logged into the remote desktop app on this Windows computer. And you see that he has access to all 3 of these host pools. So if I wanted a WordPad or any application that was running on a virtual machine in the cloud, it's as simple as just me double clicking it and it prompting me for a password, which is something that you typically do once a day. And then once I give it the password, it will connect a session to the WordPad, and it will look like it's natively running on my computer like an application, but it's actually running in the cloud on a virtual machine that's being used by others as well. As far as the pooled host pool, it's as simple as just me double clicking this. And again, you'll probably be signing in once a day, asking for passwords. And it's just a really quick and easy connection to, in this case, it's our Windows 11 shared host pool. So you would share this computer with other users and you could configure it whichever way you wanted. And then additionally, we have a personal host pool here that's running Windows 10. And all of these are accessible from any of the remote clients that we talked about, whether it's on Windows or Mac or Android or iOS, or even through a web browser as well. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Michael. All right, next we're going to talk about Windows 365 Cloud PC. The biggest change with Windows 365 Cloud PC is that it's a highly available, optimized, and scalable Windows VM. It's hosted in the Windows 365 service, which is a service that Microsoft provides that allows you to essentially have a Windows PC in the cloud that you can use for anything. It's accessible from anywhere in the world on a variety of devices, whether it's a web browser, iOS, Android, Windows. It also integrates with Azure Virtual Networks and supports Entra Domain Join and Microsoft Defender. Like I mentioned, it's accessible from windows365.microsoft.com, as well as a variety of different clients across a variety of devices. It's also managed and configured using Microsoft Intune. There's a few different SKUs or editions of Windows 365 for Business. You have Windows 365 for Business is for smaller organizations up to typically 300 seats. It's ready to use cloud PCs with some simple management options. You have Windows 365 Enterprise, which is designed for larger organizations who want unlimited seats and also a little more customizability. You have Windows 365 Government, which spans across a regulated US government community cloud and a public-facing cloud. And then you have Windows 365 Frontline, which is meant to save costs and have a single license that's used by multiple people who are working different shifts. The two major additions that most people focus on are Windows 365 for Business and 365 for Enterprise. Like I mentioned, there's a seat limit with 365 for Business of 300. Additionally, 365 for Enterprise supports VNet joining, and 365 for Business does not. 365 for Business has a limitation of not being able to use custom images that your team creates with tools and things like that. You're locked down to just using images from the marketplace. Additionally, there's no policy management or monitoring on Windows 365 for Business. In Windows 365 for Business, conditional access can be deployed only using Microsoft Entra ID with the P1 license. And with 365 for Enterprise, you can use the Intune Admin Center or Microsoft Entra ID. And Microsoft Defender on the 365 for Business is supported if the customer separately has the required E5 license. And with 365 for Enterprise, all cloud PCs will respond to Defender for Endpoint and show up in MDE dashboards with that E5 license. As far as licensing and deployment, each cloud PC is assigned to an individual user. It's created automatically by Windows 365 for a user with the appropriate license. There's no infrastructure for you to manage. It's all handled by Microsoft. They're billed monthly. No need to manage any additional compute cost or anything like that. and pricing details vary based off the SKU and the plan that you choose from. All right, and I'm going to take the screen from Michael here, and we're going to do a quick demo of Windows 365. So I'm logged in my Chrome session here to windows365.microsoft.com as Clark Kent. Clark Kent has two cloud PCs. He has a Windows 11 Win365 PC and a Microsoft Dev box, which we'll get to here shortly. So I'm going to click the Open in Browser button here, and it's going to connect using the remote client, and it's going to open up a Windows 11 virtual desktop for me right within this web browser. This also supports redirecting of several devices, whether it's printer, microphone, or clipboard, or my camera and location. This is my own personal Windows 11 desktop, and it has no infrastructure that you have to manage. It's all managed by Microsoft. You'll see here, if I go back to Windows 365 homepage, I can click on the left here, and I see links to all of the different clients that support Windows 365 and using those machines. Now I'm going to pass it to Michael for a quick demo on using Intune to manage Windows 365 devices.
All right, thank you, Alex. And go ahead and share my screen here. So for this, I'm logged in, also same URL, but different user, using Peter Parker. And we're going to go into the administration. As you can see from just the initial glance, this user also has the same similar view with a Windows 365 cloud PC available. And we'll go ahead and launch that in the background while we go through some of the administration. So we click into admin, and then from here, we drill into the endpoint manager. And this is using Intune behind the scenes, or this is Intune, I should say. So you can see from here, you can look at all of the various devices that are enrolled from Windows, Mac, etc. And from here, you can notice all of these devices that have been deployed. These last two in particular are our Windows 365 systems. So if we go back, we can drill into 365 itself and look at a few of the options available here. So first thing I wanted to touch on is the provisioning policies. This is really the thing that drives and determines which particular systems get assigned to what set of users. So within this, you notice that there are, you can choose which gallery image you're using. You can choose if you're connected to a particular network, and I'll touch on that in just a second. You can also choose, a few other items like the naming convention and your region, etc. And then the group that this is affiliated with is a group that these users are associated, and then as long as they have the appropriate licensing, then they'll be granted with this particular PC when they log into this portal. You can integrate this in with custom images, as Alex previously mentioned. And then something I did mention here briefly is you can set up your own private VNet connection within your Azure subscription that allows you to connect this particular system into your own Azure environment, which allows you to then access your own internal resources as well. That's pretty much it from an administrative side of things. And then like Alex mentioned, we are in this computer here, we're connected, and we're online. And this also is this individual user's dedicated system that they can work at and do everything they need to during the course of the day. All right, so the next topic we're going to dig into is Microsoft DevBox. The interesting thing about DevBox is that it is built upon a lot of the infrastructure that Microsoft 365 Cloud PC is also utilizing. In particular, the idea around DevBox is that it helps organizations to further shift left the management of their infrastructure over to the developers and the developer teams who may have unique and specific needs for their own applications that they're in the process of either developing or testing, and may need certain parameters in order to do so. It has a similar portal that you log into these systems through. You can also set up your own custom images, as well as a number of pre-built images that include Visual Studio, different versions, as well as 365 applications. The nice thing about this from a shared ownership perspective is that it gives the IT team the control that they need, but it also enables the development team to have the control over their own environment and be able to move as quickly as they need to. Providing self-service capabilities for these developers, and being able to even set certain SKU sizes, regions, and a lot of different configurable options, which we'll touch on here shortly. So at a high level, when you set up DevBox, you set up your Dev Center. Then you connect your Dev Center to your virtual networks that you want to utilize. Then you set up your DevBox definitions, which entails essentially defining your SKUs, your images, and then if you're going to utilize any compute gallery images as a part of that process, or you can utilize the default images that are provided. Additionally, you set up your project, which then enables you to configure your pool of dev boxes, and then those pools can then be self-provisioned by the individual developers on demand. So if we look at this shared ownership responsibility, there's different roles that are important along this path. From the going right to left, the IT infrastructure team, they still have the controls that they need from the network configuration side, as well as security and organizational policies that they may need to implement within the systems. Moving into the development teams, they can determine what size SKUs they might need, as well as what particular tool sets, APKs or installation packages that are needed for their particular solutions. And they also have, of course, with that, their own ability to control their own costs, which is important. And then lastly, from the developer standpoint, they can self-provision, self-deploy systems on demand, and those systems can be hibernated automatically, and just like virtual machines in general, they can be set on a auto shutdown cycle as well. So from a licensing perspective, there's really two phases of licensing, very similar to the other AVD solutions. There's the user licensing and the compute charges. User licensing, of course, you need to have Windows 10 or Windows 11 enterprise licenses available, utilizing Endpoint Manager P1 for your user licenses, and then also ensuring that you've got the 365 SKU license that you'll need within your organization. Of course, these can be purchased individually, but in most cases, you'll end up getting them through some sort of bundle. From the compute side, very similar to other compute charges based on the SKU, based on the any egress charges, etc. And what's nice about these is that they're if they're only used for a short period of time and then hibernated, then you're only charged for that short period of time that they're actually in use. And now we'll go ahead and transition over to another demo. So right now we're going to log in as a user that has this dev box provisioned, and we're going to be using good old Steve Rogers here. So we log into Steve Rogers portal, and we noticed that he's already provisioned 2 different dev boxes for his particular use. In order for him to deploy a new dev box, if he wanted to, it's as simple as clicking through this interface. And then choosing the appropriate SKU that aligns with whatever he's attempting to do. And then this will, assuming that we have not run over our quota, this will go ahead and launch for him. And we'll try one more. That's okay. At any rate, he's got already 2 deployed. We could utilize the browser, or you can actually go in through the client. We're going to go ahead and go through the browser, and we're going to go in and launch both of these just to show the difference. So one of them is, they're both Windows 11. One of them is a standard user. The other one is an admin user. So as you can see, similar to Cloud PC, you've got these controls that are in place, and then you can configure whether or not this comes up automatically or not. But once the system launches, then essentially you've got this dedicated system that is in use. So while that's launching, I'll go ahead and pull this up real quick. This is the Dev Center, which is really the core of setting all of this up. So if you notice, you've got your networking, which allows you to configure your VNet connection to whatever specific networks that you need to utilize. You can then configure this to integrate with a specific Azure Compute Gallery, and then you also go in through here and define the specific details and definitions of your dev boxes. So if we wanted to create a new definition, for instance, we could go through this. And so you can see out of the box, even without using any of the image gallery images, that there's a ton of these images that are already available. Different versions of Visual Studio, including 2019, 2022, and then of course whether you need to have 365 applications or not, and then you can set up other parameters as well. But this is really sufficient for our needs, so we'll just go with that. And then if we go into the projects, we can see that we've got this project that's been configured. Of course, you can have multiple projects depending on the needs of multiple different teams. And from here, you can see that we've got our pool of dev boxes that have been defined. And these are based on the SKUs that we just looked at previously, and the definitions that have been defined through those, as well as if they are connected to a specific network. And then also looking at any of the other configuration details that you're interested in seeing here. Let me go back. Yep, so we can see this user, this the status of it, etc. So if we go back in here, that's one more time. There we go. I was waiting for me to log in. And now that we're logged in, we can actually go back and take a look at these settings here. And these are the two that we're using. All right, so we're logged into both of these. Both of these systems are up and running. Really, the only difference is that one of them is granting admin access and the other one is a standard user. So let me go back to the slides for a moment. All right, so as we, in conclusion here, we've looked at a number of different solutions within the Microsoft realm, providing different remote access tools and abilities for your organization. Really, all of these solutions are built on the combined factors of Microsoft Entra as well as Azure to really help you and your organization provide the optimal solution for remote access, whether it be something that's more access to specific resources, internal or external, provided through the Entra Global Access Tools, or more traditional, Azure Virtual Desktop solution, or even more of a cloud-native solution that enables a little bit more streamlined process that is even lower overhead for your IT teams internally. We've got several options to think about, and as you can see, there's some minor differences in the licensing, etc. But in closing, Microsoft really has come a long way with their different solutions around remote access. There's a number of good options based on what your organization needs and desires may be. And at the end of the day, it really does come down to your own user experience and expectations. There are a number of flexible, scalable, and feature-rich solutions that you can take advantage of. Today, we've really just scratched the surface on these solutions that we've highlighted here. But our hope is that if you're interested in digging in further, that you'll reach out to AIS, as we are and have been a trusted partner to a number of clients, providing them and helping them to come up with their own custom solution. And at the end of the day, it is your choice, and we are here to help in any way we can. So on that, I just want to close out and say thank you for your time. And we are very grateful for being able to have you participate in this, and we hope that this has been of value to you. And just thank you so much for jumping on this with us, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.